And we're back, Mr. Tommy London, Sirius XM. So he's on 38, Aussie's Boneyard,
No, wait.
39,
Yeah, 38 Ozzy's Boneyard. Yep.
39 Hair Nation. You did say Clapton's channel,
Classic Rewind 25.
Classic Rewind. I just saw something today about Billy Joel's channel coming back again. Is that accurate?
Yeah, Billy Joel, limited time. They do that a lot. They'll have an artist that I think Eminem just got one as well, where it's for a limited time and then they pull it. And Billy's back with his channel. Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing about Sirius. I mean, there's something for everyone. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you, and I'm not trying to sell it. Um, this year is my fourth year. Prior to me working there, I was a subscriber. As soon as Howard Stern went, I went, and I've always enjoyed the product. Someone asked me once prior to working there, if Howard leaves, what would you do? I'd stay because now I'm sold on the channels, and I love, I would always listen to Hair Nation actually, and Ozzy,
Yep.
and everything else. I love Little Steven's Underground Garage. I would find some new artists on there, and one thing too is this is what a lot of people don't realize. If you search your favorite artist on the app, there are so many things you'll discover, like videos or interviews and much more from different times. Could have been 5 years ago or whatever. And I would do that from time to time. Search like Nikki Sixx, and you'll find some really cool archival stuff.
Very
Black
good. Hey,
Crowes.
one of my guilty pleasures is the 80s channel, too. Sorry about that.
Oh yeah, 8 is on 8. Oh yeah, dude, Rick Springfield has a great show on there. Have you
Does he
checked that
ever?
out?
Yeah.
Working
Yeah.
Class DJ. I love his show. And
Yeah.
you know what? This son of a bitch, he always finds a way. He has a different theme every week, and he always finds a way to slide in one of his own songs. And I always find that funny. But I
Dr.
would,
Noah Drake is one of the coolest MOs or MFs that out there because, I mean, there's a guy that left the popular soap opera years ago,
yeah,
and he's as current today as he ever was.
yeah, no doubt. I mean, he looks great for his age.
Does he ever?
Oh my God. God bless
Yeah.
him.
So back to your music for a minute, and another sort of running theme, especially up in my neck of the woods, is bands looking like bands as opposed to. So I'll give you an example. I was playing a show, and guy comes up to me after we're done a set, and he goes, "You look like a band. You don't look like the guy that was sitting at the table eating chicken wings." And I got to thinking, when a band plays. What's your thoughts on, hey, street clothes and go up and play kind of like the way the 90s was, or are you more put on a show and give the people what they want? Where do you slide in there?
Well, yeah, I think it depends on what the band is trying to sell. But for me, because I grew up in that era where it was MTV and the bands were larger than life, I'd have to go with I love seeing a band put together and looking like a gang. That I mean, Kiss is a little extreme, but Motley Crue always does it, and a lot of the '80s bands, of course. And yeah, I love seeing a gang up there of guys, and I want to be one of them. That kind of mentality. I think social media kind of killed some of that. I don't want to see my favorite rock stars cooking eggs. You know what I mean? But back in the day, dude, we would get Hit Parade or Circus Magazine. That's what you saw Vince Neil always dressed in the Shout at the Devil outfit. You didn't see him in a robe and slippers.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
want to see that. I need to know that you're always like that walking around on the streets. And that was the magic back in the day. Prince was another one very notorious for that.
Absolutely. I mean, social media is so prevalent now. And you mentioned Vince Neil. I mean, God love him. I mean, they went out and did that stadium tour, and as a human being, they'd probably be able to hear and see what's being posted about him on a daily basis. And he goes out there and he's still Vince. I mean, you got to give it to him, right? He goes out and he does it. And did you see any of that tour when it happened?
Oh yeah, I went to the stadium tour here in New York. It was outstanding. I thought it was fantastic, and I'm actually surprised that due to the success of it, that Live Nation didn't put something together for this year with some different bands. Like I thought Aerosmith and AC/DC would be a great package with whoever opening the show. I was shocked at that. I think it showed that people still want this music. They'll come in droves for it, and I thought maybe Live Nation dropped the ball there a bit with that.
I always ask this question, and I always seem to get different answers. But one of the bands that I play in, we do a lot of songs that are from the '80s and what have you. And sometimes we're playing bars, and there's kids in university, and you're doing a tune, and the kids are singing along note for note. Friend of mine has a theory that's because that's the music they heard because that's what their parents listened to. Be interested to get your take on it because Hair Nation, man. I mean, like that music still sounds current today.
Yeah, man. I mean, there's a lot of And that comes down to the songwriting and maybe some of the production as well. But it's interesting. The younger generation, a lot of them are actually into classic rock. Matter of fact, I had a meeting today with the people on Classic Rewind, and they informed me of that. They rate the demographics, and it's 18 and up, which I found very interesting. I don't know if that answered your question. So it was.
It totally does, because I mean, they announced a show here that's going to happen in my neck of the woods in August, and it's a bunch of classic Canadian bands that are still going. And some people are like, "Oh, it's not all the original people," but it's like, who cares? It's still the songs are still prevalent and current today.
Well, you know what it is too. You're right. It's the songs. It's the story of the songs. It connects with the people, whether it be a ballad or, I mean, if it's just a fun rocker song, well, that's also a way. I want to turn the radio up and have a good time. Where and I'm not dissing today's music, but a lot of that music seems formulated. We grew up. You know what I always found interesting. We grew up in an era where you would listen to the radio, and you could have Billy Joel, Billy Idol, Bon Jovi, at a time when they weren't considered classic rock yet. Keep that in mind. Right. And maybe Tone Loc or whoever on the same channel. It wasn't segregated, where it was like, this has to be that or this has to be this. It was just rock pop, and we enjoyed it all. And I think, this day and age, that's definitely happening with pop music. It's just one way, and when a younger a person discovers this music and they're like, well, I really connect to that story. Don't Stop Believing is probably a great example, or Living on a Prayer. I mean, you play these songs in a bar. I don't give a shit how old you are. You're singing along because it connected with something. It connects with you.
Absolutely. So up here in my neck of the woods, we're a quaint little crew. We like, what we like to hear about our hometown being referenced on Friends and Seinfeld and all that stuff. And anytime that I get somebody south of the border, somebody always asks them what they know about Canadian music, or if they know any Canadian bands. Growing up, you grew up in New York, correct?
Yeah. No, I was born in New York. I was raised outside of Philly.
Okay. So when you were growing up, was there any Canadian bands that maybe got across the border that caught your ear?
The number one was Bryan Adams.
Nice.
I mean, that album, I was listening to Reckless the other day. That's a fantastic record. It's perfect from beginning to end. Yeah. Those songs are just amazing. Run to You, like if you really listen to the story of Run to You, like when I heard that song back in the day, I just enjoyed it for what it was. Oh, it's catchy, it's this, it's that. But when you really listen to the story, you're like, wow, he's talking about something here. It's kind of deep, He's the first one that comes to mind. I have to say he's the first Canadian artist that I got into, who I still like to this day.
Yeah, and I mean it's funny because I get Rush a lot. Obviously, Rush is is a big one. We're funny because up here, like we have this CanCon thing where you got to pay X amount of Canadian songs per hour on the radio and whatnot. But my friends and I, we were always about particularly the American bands and the bands from the UK and what have you. And so it was cool actually to hear some of the stuff. Like, I was always more of a New York than LA guy.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, the Ramones and
yes.
Is that a CBGB shirt that you're wearing?
Yeah.
And that would have been one of the things that I would have, so we grew up listening to that. You guys kind of probably didn't get the same thing, but would there have been other Canadian acts or music that you might have been able to take in when you're growing up?
Than the ones we mentioned?
Yeah.
The ones that come to mind that are really, you said Rush. That was definitely my second choice. But Bryan Adams was the first person I ever listened to I was like, oh, he's from Canada? And I was like, no way. And then it was Rush. And I don't know what other Canadian artists I've gotten into. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I mean, I know the Bare Naked Ladies are from there. I was never a huge fan of them, but I know they're from there. But those are the only three that come to mind. But the first two are obviously ones I'm into.
Well, and I've done my part to push that, so all my friends can just take it for what it is. Well, and it is actually funny though, because I asked one person one time, and they said, "Skid Row." It's like, no, their singer was Canadian, but they were from New Jersey.
From Jersey, yeah. That's a different. That's true. That's a fine line, I guess.
Very fine line. So coming up over the next bit, and I want to be respectful of your time. And again, Tommy, so honored and happy you did this for me. But what's your schedule looking like for you over the next bit? Like, how are you going to be able to, get out and play shows and still do your gig, your day gig, and it's a night gig too. I mean, I hear you and Keith Ross sometimes. Like, I think he was on like Christmas Eve or something, or Christmas Day, and you might have been too.
Yeah, I was on for Christmas. Well, you know what the good thing is? That's the thing. Since we're able to do it from the home, I do it on a laptop. So I can take that wherever I go. So when I went back to the holidays with my family, did the whole day thing. And then at night, I went into a room and I did the show.
Nice.
Yeah. That's the plus side of having it mobile.
So speaking of Mr. Roth, if you ever jam with Mr. Keith Roth, because I tell you, he's the ultimate name dropper.
Yeah.
You got to give it for him that he's got probably one of the best radio voices I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, he does. I wish I had Keith Roth's voice. I've hung with Keith a lot. Him and I are really good friends. I love that guy. I truly do. Not just saying it. I've never jammed with him per se, but I put shows together that I don't play at in the Lower East Side, a club called Arlene's Grocery. It's called Tommy London Presents the $5 Rock Show. It's $5 to get in. I do it once a month. I put the bands together. Bands walk away with 100% of the door. At nice. $5 a head. And I've had Keith play it a few times. And he really is a great guy, and he's got awesome stories.
And the thing that I like about him too is he'll drop the name and then he'll admit it, and I think that's great. That's like my friends just suck it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's funny.
Outside of Cirrus, tell my viewers where they're going to find you, because I listen to the tunes, and you know what? I didn't realize. I mean, like, you hear, okay, this guy's a musician, he's also on the radio, whatever. But your tunes are good.
Thank you.
You're an actual talent that people need to hear. So where are they going to find you?
Well, you can just look up Tommy London. If you go to TommyLondon.com, you'll hit there. But I'm on all the streamers. Just look, Spotify, whatnot, iTunes. Just look up my name. The record will be out probably this month or next. I'm just going to surprise drop it. So it's not even going to be this hoopla. I'm just putting it out there. And just look up my name and you'll find the music everywhere that you go to hear music. YouTube as well. I have music videos up there too.
Well, in the words of Eddie Murphy from Trading Places, Merry New Year. And thank you again so much for doing this. And we'll talk to you soon.
All right, brother. Let's do it again. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, my friend.
Take care.